It was a Tuesday evening, much like any other, yet it held a silent anticipation that hummed beneath the surface of our ordinary lives. I, Eleanor, had just finished my nightly ritual of skincare, the scent of lavender lingering in the air, a small comfort against the backdrop of a busy day. I was about to slide beneath the soft sheets when James, my husband of 8 years, walked into the bedroom. There was a mischievous glint in his eyes, that same playful spark that had captivated me all those years ago, and a smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. It was a look I knew well, a hint that he had a surprise in store. James had always been a master of the small gestures, the unexpected kindnesses that kept our marriage vibrant and full of life. From a single flower left on my pillow to an impromptu picnic in our backyard, he was always finding ways to remind me that I was cherished. But tonight, there was something different about his gaze, something deeper and more intense that caused me to pause. His steps were slow and deliberate as he made his way towards me, never breaking eye contact. He had a way of moving that was both gentle and purposeful, and the combination made my heart beat a little faster. He stood before me, reaching out and gently brushing a stray piece of hair away from my face. I settled into the coolness of the sheets, my eyes locked on him as he stood at the foot of the bed, a quiet intensity radiating from him. Our breathing filled the silence of the room as he finally spoke, his voice low and sincere. "Eleanor," he started, his tone softer than usual, "I have something I want to ask you." I felt a rush of excitement, a delightful nervousness that often accompanied his little surprises. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. James always kept me on my toes, but this felt different, more significant, as if what he had in mind was more than just a simple request. He walked around the bed and sat beside me, taking my hand in his. His fingers, warm and reassuring, enveloped mine, and his eyes held a mix of tenderness and anticipation, as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. "Trust me," he murmured, his voice barely above a breath. "I want to try something new tonight." His tone was hesitant, testing the waters, but his words sent a thrill coursing through me. This was different, uncharted territory for us, and a delicious sense of adventure filled me. I leaned back against the pillows, a soft smile playing on my lips, and James settled himself closer to the edge of the bed. As he positioned himself near me, I noticed the way he looked at me, filled with both love and an intensity that I hadn't seen in a while. "I want to show you something," he whispered, his hand brushing softly along my arm, making me feel vulnerable yet incredibly safe. I closed my eyes, allowing myself to fall into the moment, trusting the man I had shared my life with. What happened next was something I hadn't expected. James leaned in closer, his hands resting gently on my shoulders, his warm breath sending shivers down my spine. When he kissed me, it was soft, tender, like a whisper against my lips, a moment that felt deeply intimate and personal. My heart pounded in my chest, and I felt as if we were in our own little world, a beautiful space created just for us. The kiss was more than just physical. It was a connection that went straight to my soul. Looking at him, I saw the affection in his eyes, and I knew he truly saw me. It was as if he wanted to understand every part of me, to appreciate me beyond the surface. That level of devotion filled me with an overwhelming sense of happiness. James had always been sweet and thoughtful, but tonight he revealed a side of himself I had never witnessed before. He seemed to be discovering new layers of love, and I felt cherished in a way I couldn't quite put into words. As the night deepened, I lay beside him, my mind still reeling from what had just happened. I realized that what we shared was something truly special, something that had brought us closer than I could have ever imagined. "How do you feel?" he asked after a few moments of silence, his eyes gentle and inquisitive. I smiled, my heart overflowing, surprised definitely, but in a really good way. That night opened a door to a new chapter in our marriage. We began to explore more, to talk about our desires, our dreams, and even our fears. We built a deeper sense of trust and vulnerability between us, and it was this openness that made our relationship stronger than ever before. James continued to surprise me with his thoughtfulness, making our relationship richer, not just in the big moments, but in the small, everyday connections. We became more comfortable sharing everything, from the silly to the serious, creating an unbreakable bond between us. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, we lay in bed laughing about the silliest of things, our love for each other shining through the simplest of moments. A sudden wave of playful energy filled the room, and James suggested something unexpected. Before I knew it, we were under the bed laughing like children, sharing an impromptu intimate moment in that small, confined space. Enveloped in warmth, we connected deeply, the kind of connection that stays with you forever. Several weeks later, I started to feel strange, a persistent fatigue, changes in my appetite, and I eventually realized I was pregnant. When I told James, his face lit up with pure joy, and his eyes sparkled with happy tears. We had always dreamed of starting a family, but the reality of it felt like a beautiful, overwhelming surprise. 9 months later, our twins, a boy and a girl, were born. Watching James hold them in his arms, I was overwhelmed with the feeling of gratitude for everything we had shared, every laugh, every late-night conversation, and every moment of vulnerability. Life with twins was chaotic, filled with sleepless nights and giggling mornings. But each experience reminded us of the strong foundation of love we had built together. Our relationship had transformed, evolving from something wonderful to something truly extraordinary. We were no longer just husband and wife. We were a family, bound by love, commitment, and shared parenthood. Years passed, and James continued to surprise me. One evening, as we lay in bed, reminiscing about the past, I said, "You've always found a way to make me feel special." He smiled, pulling me close. "I always want to make you happy, Eleanor," he whispered. Our love had grown layer upon layer, each discovery a new and precious gift. And so our journey continued. We built a life filled with laughter, tears, and a love that was both strong and lasting. Our twins were the living proof of our bond, a constant reminder that love, when nurtured, could bring forth the most wonderful surprises. As I looked forward to our future, I knew that with James by my side, love would keep surprising us in beautiful, unexpected ways.